Hello and welcome to Rotted Reviews, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the 2017 movie, The Lodgers. Currently streaming on Netflix, this movie was directed by Brian O'Malley and written by David Turpin. So the general plot of this movie, in a spoiler-free fashion, is that this follows two twins, Rachel and Edward, as they live alone in a big mansion that, their parents have since passed, and they have to adhere to a strange set of rules. Be locked in their bedroom by midnight, so on and so forth. Don't let strangers into the house. And the rules all kind of come from this childhood rhyme, this sing-songy rhyme that they have to hear, and the rules are kind of laid out for them there. They adhere to it, their parents had adhered to it, and the general notion that we get as the movie starts is if they don't adhere to these rules, then something terrible will happen, something kind of it alludes to something creature-like from the basement in an aquatic fashion. Now, the nature of what will actually happen if they break these rules, what will enforce this, what kind of creatures we're dealing with, and the nature of the twins themselves is kind of the plot of the movie as it slowly reveals itself.
Happy birthday, Edward.
Stop. It's my eyes.
Now, this was set in 1920 Ireland, and it was kind of this weird mix of gothic horror with shades of Lovecraft thrown in there. Very heavy inspiration without actually being a direct adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. This was a movie that I found after watching it was a very slow and deliberate burn. It was actually pretty light on scares, but pretty heavy on character building and atmosphere. And one unique thing I found about it behind the scenes is that it was actually filmed in Loftus Hall, externally and internally, which is a pretty famous historical haunted building in Ireland. Now, as far as whether or not I actually enjoyed this movie, I don't know. I'm kind of speaking from the heart here. I feel like we've been getting too much in the way of slow burns, and I've just been getting a little bit weary of it. I kind of long for fun. I long for stuff actually happening. I long for rapid beat plot points. I long for storylines that are engaging instead of just moody. And I'd hate to hold all the other movies that I've seen, previous to this against this one film, but for me, I tried to watch The Other Lamb. I got about halfway through it. I still want to finish it off. I'm not saying that it was just the worst thing in the world. But what I am saying is that these type of moody, atmospheric, slow burn movies that we've been getting so much lately is wearing on me. And I think after this movie, I'm going to be putting more focus on just more fun movies, just kind of get a palate cleanser. I will go back to these. I'm not dismissing them from my library, certainly. I'm not going to, stop watching any particular type of movie, but I do think I'm at the point of exhaustion with this, and I do need a palate cleanser. But speaking as much as objectively as I possibly can, I thought this movie was extraordinarily visually compelling. I thought that it was beautiful. It was beautifully shot. It was just gorgeous through and through. But although this was a weird mix of being both verbose and not actually having a lot to say. Most of the plot points that were hit as the character reveals happen, I could kind of already figure it out long before it actually revealed them. There were some hints and allusions that kind of filled in the gaps before they were actually spoken about 45 minutes later. So there weren't really a whole lot of surprises. Like I said, it was mostly just atmosphere and character building. And as far as the character building goes, like I just said, not a whole lot of surprises there. What they actually revealed, they had already hinted at, and I had already guessed. So I think my major complaint with this movie, and it is a pretty major one, is that perhaps they should have focused just a little bit less on character development and a little bit more on story progression and events actually happening to further a narrative plot. This is a movie that entirely supported the past. Past events had happened in the shadows, behind the scenes, hidden in the screenplay, and the movie's basis was revealing those. But that didn't provide a very compelling structural narrative for the present tense, for what we were actually going through. It was mostly just the going through the paces and revealing what had happened. There were some events that, did take place. The twins had just turned 18, and because of that, there were some legal things going on. There was some furthering of this supernatural presence. It was kind of raising the stakes a little bit. They were, things were progressing in a way that had not happened before.
How badly off are we?
I'm afraid the estate could scarcely be worse off, and your family's eccentricities have been little help to matters.
But even so, it seemed like all of that was still just set up to reveal what and who the twins were and what happened to them in the past, especially in relation to their parents. So, I don't know. I just wanted something more to actually happen. I wanted something, or at least more plot points to be hit, more beats to be hit, and just for the film to have a little bit something more to say. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and throw up the scores here. As always, 4 different categories, each one worth up to 25 points for a total possible score of 100 points. And I'm not going to say that the plot was bad. It really wasn't, but I am going to say that it could have been a lot more compelling than it was. So on a pretty average, middle of the road, 14 out of 25 points there. The intent follows suit with that just because it didn't really engage me. It didn't really capture me as much as I think it was trying to. As it was revealing the past and the situation and the events of these characters, for me, it was kind of met with meh. On 2 levels, mostly it was coming down to how I really hadn't been brought into the movie very successfully. And also, like I said earlier, I had already figured out a lot of this from the hints that it was dropping. So yeah, as far as the intent goes, I really can't say that I was as compelled as the movie was trying to make me be. Acting gets a pretty good score. Charlotte Vega and Bill Milner as Rachel and Edward, respectively, did a pretty good job. I thought that the performance that they put out as far as what these characters were going through was pretty exceptional. Like I said, this movie was big on atmosphere and character building, and the character building was a big component of that, and the acting performances was another big component of that. So yeah, I mean, for a movie that was pretty much carried by 2 leads, I thought that they actually did it fairly well. 21 out of 25 on the technical. Very happy about that. Like I said, this was very visually compelling. It was atmospheric, it was moody, and the camera work and the lighting and the color palette that they went with was all in very big service to that. And honestly, filming it in Loftus Hall was probably a little bit of a cheat just because of how gorgeous that was. But even so, what was brought to the screen was gorgeous, and I wouldn't say otherwise. So yeah, very happy giving that a pretty high mark. And so with a score of 67 out of 100 points, I do recommend this movie under the caveat that you are actually still in the mood for a slow burn atmospheric gothic horror. If you don't fall into the same camp that I do right now, just in terms of the level of exhaustion in what has been brought out lately, I would say that this is absolutely for you. If you watch The Other Lamb and you just want more, go for it. You're not going to be disappointed. This is a great movie on that level. And I wouldn't say that it's a bad movie on any level, so I certainly won't dissuade anybody from watching it at all. So that should about do it. That's my review of 2017's The Lodgers. I really thank you for joining me here today. I look forward to seeing you in my next review. If you like this, please click like and subscribe. Remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.